Hi everyone, this is Guns for Days here, and if you don't remember what happened in part 1, there will be a link in the description below to the video. Now let's begin. As we left off, the forces are now in control of Paradis, and working with the anti-volunteers. Paradis being fortified and preparing for an invasion, and currently the Mideast Alliance war is just 1 month away from ending. Flock is now thinking, how can Paradis secure an official alliance with other countries beyond Paradis' border? And how can they replace the attack titan that they used to have before running away? He figured that the female titan would be the next best thing, since it's basically a female version of the attack titan. But there's two problems. How can they get Annie out of crystal hardening, and where can they get titan serum? Flock asks Onyankopon about this problem. Onyankopon tells Flock that they can get titan serum from Marley for Paradis, since Marley has a good stockpile of titan serum. If they want the titan serum, it will have to happen during the raid, since if they steal it now, Marley may go on high alert, and a future raid would end with disaster. For the next problem, that is getting Annie out of crystal. Onyankopon suggests that Yelena might have an answer since he spent time with Zeke, and Zeke has a lot of knowledge about titans, so there might be a solution there. Flock remembers about the information already known about the female titan's abilities, which is that its screams can attract pure titans or abnormal titans. Also, the rumbling plan that Eren mentioned to Flock before running off gave Flock an idea. What if they break Annie out, extract any more information from her about the female titan's abilities, choose a woman to eat the female titan, figure out a way to break only the colossal titans from Shigash in the district, have the female titan screams lead the colossal titans away from the walls, leading them to the coast to a point where they won't head towards the walls, but the mainland, and let the colossal titans run loose on Marlene's soil. Which during that time, revolutions across territories under Marlene control could begin to fight for freedom. While colossal titans wreak havoc on Marlene's northern region, destroying infrastructure, main industrial areas that produce materials for weaponry, Marley could become too overwhelmed that would have to sue for peace if it wants to maintain its territorial holdings. Marley will have to deal with revolutions in the south and colossal titans in the north, after fighting a 4-year-long war. Hizuru could aid the revolutionaries with weapons if a good deal is made with Paradis, but Mikasa no longer around, and she was a descendant from royalty, which did bring the Azumabito's interest. If Hizuru does not help Paradis like in the original timeline, it will mean Paradis will need to aid the revolutionaries with enough weapons to start a revolution. Flock decides sending some of the anti-volunteers outside the Paradis to gather people for the revolution could be the best course of action. Now back to the imprisoned scouts. John, Connie, Sasha are set free since they are no threat to the fortress or the island, but Hanji shall continue to be imprisoned, including Shadis. But for Levi, it's still being thought over about what to do with him, since he still has gold killing the Beast Titan. John, Connie, Sasha, along with a few foresters, are sent back to Marley. Since John, Connie, Sasha knew Eren for a while, they will know what Eren would say or do. They will write out letters thinking what Eren would say, so when the letters are sent out to Zeke, it will give Zeke the illusion that Eren never left. Flock began to wonder about the euthanization plan that was abandoned a while back. If instead of Historia giving birth to many royal-blooded children, why not make Zeke fornicate with a few women? That way, Historia, the queen of the new Eldian Empire, shall not carry the burden of giving birth to multiple children for Paradis' survival. He even begins talks with Hizuru about if they help Paradis, then they shall get 20% of Paradis Iceberg stones, even baiting Hizuru with an additional 10%, which adds up to 30%. but only if Paradis' future is secure and the fear of total destruction of the island is no longer a threat. Thoughts of possible candidates for the future Titan shifters are being thought over. Luis would be the more likely candidate to inherit the female Titan, if they break Annie out of the crystal hardening. But there is one Titan that Paradis has that is still walking around, which we can't forget about, and that is Armin. What would become of Armin? Chances are Armin would decide to follow Flock for the protection of Paradis and its people. He will come to terms that Eren and Mikasa will never be returning, or will want to be found at all. Nazuma Bito, on behalf of Hizuru, decides to help Paradis for the trade deal, since 30% of iceberg stones would be too good an offer to pass up on. Nazuma Bito will send their best engineers to help Paradis industrialize, even teaching them how to construct modern technology on their own. With the anti-volunteers Nazuma Bito, even the captured Marlene soldiers doing their part, it seems that Paradis, or the new Eldian Empire, is on the road to be a future powerhouse, with its many untapped resources, and trade with Nazuma Bito working well. Of course, the future of Paradis would be safe, but not until the threat of Marley is dealt with. Now's the time to start war plans against Marley. Currently, Paradis has a total of 35,000 soldiers and 1 dreadnought, which isn't a lot to work with. So Phlox begins to think about the rumbling plan again, that he, Eren, and Yelena were talking about 7 months prior to now. What other elements of the plan can be used? He goes to Yelena to ask what are all the titans that Marley has. She says the last thing she knows is that Marley currently has the Armor Titan, Beast Titan, Cart Titan, Jaw Titan, and Warhammer Titan, which adds up to 5, compared to Paradis only having 2, and one of those 2 is inside of a crystal. Flock continues to think the plan's over. Now that the Mideast Alliance War has ended, Flock decides to sneak more troops into Marley and send weapons to the revolutionaries in Marley's southern territories, but they shall not attack till the order is given. He even asks Kiyomi to be a sort of infiltrator to see what Marley is planning, and to keep the act up that Eren is still around, she will talk to Zeke. She'll talk to Willy Tiber too, in hopes that he spills the information about who is the Warhammer Titan. Kiyomi does inform Paradis about the upcoming festival that will be happening in Liberia, where a majority of the high-ranking Marlene generals will be there, including all the Titan shifters. It's unclear whether or not the Warhammer Titan will be there, but it is a possibility. The location is Liberia. To the east of Liberia is a key naval port which has a total of 12 dreadnoughts. This information was just what Flock needed to see a more clear objective to make sure Paradis' survival is secured. Flock sends Kiyomi to inform Zeke that he will meet Eren at the festival when the attack begins. Armin is currently training his Colossal Titan form to be able to transform at least 2 times. Organization on key targets are being set in motion, since they will need to capture as many dreadnoughts, armed zeppelins, for the defense of Paradis, and even large amounts of Titan serum must be sown too. The forces will still have some leftover spinal fluid wine as a substitute in case they need to transform someone into a pure Titan to eat a Titan shifter. Zeke can use his scream to transform that individual and control that individual to not eat any of the forces in the battlefield. They will need to figure out what would be the most important Titan to capture and eat. So if they can hold their position in Liberia, then they can at least be able to take one Titan shifter with them. The plan is now figured out. The Forcers will use their 1 dreadnought and an ocean liner they borrowed from Hizuru to transport Fortress to the port to capture all the dreadnoughts there after the attack begins. Armin will infiltrate Marley to be ready when the attack begins. The plan will go into action when the festival is being constructed. During Armin's infiltration of Marley, he befriended Falco. Armin used his grandfather's first name to disguise himself in Marley. Armin asked Falco to bring Reiner to the basement. Then an anti-volunteer takes Zeke, Peak, and Porco to a location, then orders Zeke to a different location. The anti-volunteers continue to take Peak and Porco to a building. Peak stops to talk to the Panzer unit to tell them that there's something suspicious about the stranger that are taking them into a building. The anti-volunteer takes them into a room, then traps Peak and Porco in a pit. Armin is wearing his ODM gear. He talks to Reiner without mentioning that Eren left. He continues to talk to Reiner until Willy declares war on Paradis. The second Willy Tyrant says, "To the enemy of Paradis, this is a declaration of war." Armin says sorry to Reiner, and he transforms into the Colossal Titan. But not into a big explosion, only transforming into half of a Colossal Titan. Then smashing his arms into the crowd, destroying everything around him, including killing all the high-ranking Marleyan generals. In the distance, Flock, along with Fortress, numbering 75 in total, is heading towards Armin. Armin then leads his Colossal Titan. Using his ODM gear, he heads east. At the eastern port away from Liberio, the naval personnel are gathering equipment to go to Liberio, since it's under attack. The eastern port has a total of 12 dreadnoughts. The dreadnought and the ocean liner, carrying 4,500 Fortress in total, is just nearing the eastern port. The naval personnel is asking why they're there. Then, in between Liberio and the port, a huge explosion erupts. After the air blast passes and the debris falls down, the 4,500 Fortress attack the naval personnel, killing them all and capturing all 12 dreadnoughts. Armin sees lightning strikes and a Titan forming from the ground up in Liberio. It's the Warhammer Titan. He walks towards Liberio. Peak and Porco are saved by the Panzer unit and are heading towards Liberio. Flock and his men attack the Warhammer Titan with Thunder Spears and Magath garrison that are stationed in Liberio. Peak and Porco arrive and the forces are forced to go into the buildings to avoid taking heavy casualties. Magath is still wondering where is Eren Yeager. Then Zeke arrives saying the same line as he did in the original. The other fortress within Marley are raiding airfields, including sealing the train to Fort Salta, and raiding it as well. The dreadnoughts to the east, now consisting of 13 dreadnoughts and 1 ocean liner, head south to raid more ports. Back to Liberia. The now 73 fortress are up against Magath garrison, the Warhammer Titan, the Card Titan, and the Jaw Titan. Flock looks out the window to see the Warhammer Titan foot connecting to something in the ground. He waits for Armin to finish his ring of fire around Liberia, so he can come closer to help against the enemy. Armin gets close enough to engage the Warhammer Titan. The Warhammer Titan creates a Cat O' tails, swinging it into the buildings. With the fortress inside, Flock orders his men to get out of the buildings and engage the enemy. Flock sends a fortress to inform Armin about the strange connection in the ground leading to the Warhammer Titan's foot. Armin reaches in the ground and pulls out the crystal hardening. He disconnects the crystal from the Warhammer Titan. The Jaw Titan leaps at Armin using his claws to slash at his Titan form. Armin tries to fight the fast leaping Jaw Titan, but Armin raises his hand with the crystal hardening. During his clash with the Jaw Titan, which causes the Jaw Titan to hit the crystal, scratching it deeply. Flock witnesses this, realizing that the Jaw Titan can break through crystal hardening. He smiles a little, knowing that if they capture this Titan, they can break Annie out of the crystal and eat her. A fortress informs Armin that they are planning to capture the Jaw Titan. Armin manages to land a huge blow on Porco, demobilizing his Jaw Titan. Flock decides it will be too risky to eat the Jaw Titan in Liberia, so instead of eating it here, they'll just cut off Porco's limbs and take him to Paradis. A few weeks earlier, a deal was struck with Flock and Levi. Flock told Levi that if he decides to help the fortress take Zeke alive, then he will be allowed to kill Zeke when Zeke's purpose is fulfilled. Levi slices Zeke open, capturing him and blowing up the back of his neck, just like the original timeline, to make Marley believe that Zeke was killed. Levi then slices Porco's limbs off, capturing him. Fortress launched around 40 Thunder Spears at the Cart Titan, destroying the Panzer unit and heavily wounding Peak like in the original. Gabby and Falco call to Reiner. Reiner transforms into a Titan but in a damaged state, staring up at the Colossal Titan right in front of him. Connie Sasha plant lights on the roof just like the original. but instead of one Zeppelin coming, it's 3. One main Zeppelin to carry the fortress home, and 2 on each side to fight off any enemy ground forces. Flock, seeing the Zeppelins approaching their position to head home, he's now stuck with a decision. Leave the Warhammer Titan or try to bring her back. Flock, realizing that there is no clear solution to bring her back, decides to leave her, since they'll have the female Titan and the Jaw Titan in Paradis's hands soon. Gabby and Falco are unable to go into the Zeppelin since the cover fire stops them from getting close. Armin, seeing that there's very little time left, kicks Reiner across Liberio, then gets out of his Titan form and leaves towards the Zeppelins. All 53 remaining forces manage to get on his main Zeppelin. Cheers are up in the Zeppelin celebrating their victory, with Flock saying that they will honor all those who perished in the raid. Flock then goes to the front of the Zeppelin to talk to Zeke. Zeke asks, "Where's Eren?" Flock responds with, "Gone." Zeke looks in confusion. Flock explains everything to Zeke on what happened and what is going to happen to him when they arrive in Paradis. Zeke is in a daze, hearing what happened to Eren, and that he will be forced to bed with a few Eldian women in order for Paradis to have a few royal-blooded children in their hands. Zeke didn't know until now, but the euthanization plan was dead months ago.